justice and peace and equality.
Game Changers Magazine, Game Changers Media Network, Voices of the Village podcast, and I'm back with Sherry DeVouse-Dennard State Farm Agency.
Hey.
Come on now. Come on now. Turn up.
That's right.
Now, before we went to commercial break, we were talking about some of the levels of insurance. And
Yes.
some of, the state requires that we have auto insurance. Home insurance is not optional. Renter's insurance is sometimes optional, but in these days and times, I think you gotta have it.
Yeah.
And they tell us, as long as you have insurance, people, hey, make sure you get insurance. But most people don't understand what they're buying when they're getting insurance.
They absolutely do not.
They do not. They get in a car
They
accident
get in the car.
and they be like, "Oh man, I'm about to get $1 million," or vice versa. They don't have enough insurance to cover the car that they hit.
Woo, talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Come on.
Let's talk about it. So I'm going to keep it in layman's term.
Okay.
When you guys are signing up for insurance, you understand insurance is risk mitigation.
Okay.
You are putting into a lottery of sorts. We won't say lottery, that's probably not the right word, but let's say everybody's putting into this bucket, and that's your premium. You're putting premium in a bucket, you're putting a little bit. And every now and then somebody's going to have a claim where they got to take out a lot, right? And so that is why you have insurance, because no one wants to have to crack open the 401k or the piggy bank to have to come out of hundreds of thousands of dollars if they have an accident, right?
Man.
That's why we call it an accident.
Man.
So it's risk mitigation for the what ifs.
Okay.
With that being said, understanding your contract, we often say full coverage.
Okay.
I just want full coverage, right?
Right.
But what does that entail, right?
Right.
The first thing I like to talk about is liability.
Okay.
And this is a space that people just kind of do a speed bump over. No
Right.
pun intended.
Right.
But you really need to pay attention.
Okay.
So the state of Georgia says you have to have at least 25, 50, 25. Do you know what that means?
Well, in layman's terms, 55, 20, 25, from what I know on the books, is meaning if I get in an accident, the budget of my vehicle covers like $25,000.
Okay. So let's talk about it a little bit more, right?
Let's go.
So $25,000. The first is for if, God forbid, you're at fault for someone else's accident or injuries, right?
Okay.
The first $25,000 is the other person's injury, so it's liability.
Okay.
What are you liable for that you're at fault for? So if you go out and hit somebody's car and somebody's hurt or one person's hurt, the first $25,000 is for their injuries, and God forbid they should pass away.
Mm.
Do you think $25,000 is going to be enough?
No.
Right. So imagine that person's airlifted to Grady. It's your fault.
Oh man.
Imagine if that person is in hours of surgery fighting for their life. Imagine that person was the breadwinner of the household.
Oh.
And then months later, they're still in rehab. They've lost time at work, and they're coming after you with a lawyer for pain and suffering.
Mm.
You think $25,000 is enough?
We know it's not enough.
We know it's not enough, right? So understanding what that means. Just because you have the minimum making you legal doesn't mean you're good.
Mm.
You're getting it in case of that accident, understanding that you don't want to have to come out of pocket.
Right.
So there's a high chance if you only have $25,000 of bodily injury and somebody's really hurt because of your fault,
Uh-huh.
you're going to get sued. Now, I've heard people say, well, they can't get what I ain't got. Right?
I've heard it all the time.
Well, let's talk about it.
Let's go.
Look, you've talked to some lawyers earlier today, right?
Yep.
Can they put a lien on your property?
Yes, they can.
Can they garnish your wages?
Yes, they can.
Can they come for your taxes at the end of the year?
Yes, they can.
So by any means necessary, yes, they can come for you. So just understanding what that risk is and
Okay.
understanding what your exposure is to that risk.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
Every time you get on Highway 75, you got a risk. And think about this too. Would you agree we're in a very litigious society?
I agree. Yes.
Everybody wants to sue you, whether it's your fault or not, right?
Man, we have a call center for just for
and
car
we talked
accidents,
about
and we
that,
talked
right?
about that.
Right.
Yeah.
So if that's the environment we're living in,
Okay.
So even if you know you're not at fault, do you think you still might not get sued? I mean, now you got the burden to prove it.
Yeah. All of that.
All of that.
Yeah.
Liability. So understand what that means. I suggest you guys, especially in Metro Atlanta,
Yeah.
I would say no less than 100, 300, 100. Why? Because that last number, 100,000, well, we just talked about the injury, right?
Right.
How many cars do you see in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Maseratis, Range Rovers, Escalades, Rolls Royces. How much are they worth?
Man, we talking $200,000-$300,000 cars.
Easily.
Just the car.
Right. So if you have 25, 50, 25, $25,000 for someone's property damage,
Okay.
and you hit a car of that stature,
Right.
where do you think that balance is coming from? We're just going to cut a check for $25,000 because that's what you signed up for.
That's what you. Whoa.
Where's the balance coming from?
That it must be coming from. You're gonna have to get it out the mud.
You're gonna have to figure it out, right?
Figure it out. Yeah.
So my message there would be: would you rather me be the person to pay for that car, or you?
I would rather you be the person to make it.
So understand those. That's the education part.
Okay.
That's what differentiates us. This model of a State Farm office versus your 1-800, cheap insurance.
Okay.
Cheap insurance that you didn't understand until there was an accident. I can go deeper, but that's just a surface. But just understand those limits of liability on the auto and also for the home.
Right.
When these homes are, you get displaced from a home, you want to know that the company that you've signed up with will put you potentially in a hotel while that home is being rebuilt, right?
Right.
Do you have that? Do you have a backup sewer and drain issue? That's an endorsement. That's extra. Do you have that? So asking the right questions, and you don't know what to ask, right?
You don't.
That's why you need a good agent.
Like a good agent, Sherry is there.
No, but seriously, we're in a unique position.
Okay.
Where we can be the change agent for you, where your family is best protected. Not just your assets, but your legacy.
Right.
We can talk about life insurance. Right?
Oh yeah,
we can talk about disability insurance, protecting your income.
Right.
Because we don't want to think that we can become disabled. Who does plot to be disabled?
Right.
It just happens.
Right.
And if you can imagine, now that you're disabled, you're only getting 60% of your income. Most corporate jobs, right?
Right. Most corporate jobs.
Can you live on 60% of your money?
No, you can't.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's that supplemental part. It's the what ifs.
Yeah.
And that's just covering all angles of anything that can infiltrate or disrupt all that you've worked hard for. That's what we do.
That's what we do. That's deep. I mean, and you said it best. Some people just are glad that they're covered.
I'm legal
until I'm legal until they get in that accident.
Yes.
Or until they have that home crisis where it's like, hey man, we got to get out of the house and we may not be living in our house for 30 days. Where are we going to stay? Renters, yeah.
Oh my gosh, renters. People think, that's optional because I don't own the home.
Right.
But if that house that you are renting burns down, where are you going?
Okay, man.
And number two, all your stuff that was in there, how are you going to replace it?
Wow.
And that's relatively cheap. We're not talking about a lot of money unless it happens and you don't have it.
Right.
And it becomes a lot of money. But just again, do what you got to do to protect your investments.
Now let's go to the life insurance side because
I love that.
The life insurance side is a game. I mean, right now, more people are being educated on life insurance and the value of life insurance being an asset and all of that. But it's also a catch-22 to that, to where people are like, oh man, I can put it on hold. Ain't nothing gonna happen. Nothing's gonna happen to me tomorrow. I'm good. I don't expect. Like, tell me. Let's talk about life insurance and the whole value of life insurance.
Well, let me take a sip.
Okay.
And this is water, people.
Hey man, H2O.
Life insurance is love insurance.
Okay.
That's a little catchphrase, right?
Oh man.
So there are two things that are certain.
Okay.
Death and taxes, right?
Oh my.
I don't know if you're going to have a car accident. You may never have a car accident.
Yeah.
I don't know if the house is going to burn down, tree fall on it. It may never happen.
It may never
But
happen.
what I can guarantee is going to happen
Uh-huh.
is you're going to get called home one day, right?
Oh, my wow.
And most of us don't know when
Right.
or where or how it's going to happen.
Right.
So I would just encourage people to plan as if it could happen
Right.
tomorrow.
Wow.
Because life insurance is not a right, it's a privilege.
Okay.
Not everybody qualifies for life insurance. But once you make it past that underwriting hurdle,
Okay.
you should try by any means necessary to keep it.
Okay.
Because your situation may change. And if it does change, I can't promise you I can get you back over the hurdle.
Correct.
You know?
Correct.
So why is it important? Your legacy. And let me tell you, everybody's going to pay for life insurance. Either it's going to be in incremental monthly installments,
Okay.
or it's going to be your family stroking one big check, but somebody paid for it.
But somebody paid for it, yeah.
Be thoughtful enough so that it doesn't have to happen in one big stroke. Or someone having to take out a loan because you didn't take care of that, you know.
Right.
There wasn't a sense of urgency for you.
Right.
Why is it not a sense of urgency? My thought is, we talked about the law telling you got to get, if there was no law
Right.
to tell you to get life insurance, right, people would just be out here driving dirty, right?
Oh, man.
If there was no law to tell you to protect the mortgage, well, there's really not a law. It's the insurance company, not the insurance, but the mortgage company, if you have a lien on the house,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
If you have a mortgage, they're going to say, before you close on this loan, you must maintain insurance. Why? Because the house doesn't belong to you.
Right.
It belongs to the bank.
It belongs to the bank.
If you ever want to test this out, stop paying for it. I say it all the time.
All
right?
the time.
If you're ever confused about who owns that house or
Yeah.
who owns that car, stop paying for it.
Yes,
And
yes.
they will come and get their stuff.
Yes.
But no one is making you take care of your family because that's your best interest.
Correct.
So they're taking care of their best interest, but we're not taking care of our best interest, which is our families.
Right.
Right. Because it's like, we got time, or that's not important right now.
Yes.
Look at the news. You got children that are leaving here early.
Man.
You got young people that are getting cancer.
At an all-time high.
You got heart attacks happening at any age.
Yes.
So if you have a family especially,
Okay.
and you have a mortgage in place,
Okay.
you have car notes in place, you got student loans in place, life is lifing.
Yes,
Life is
yes,
life is
yes.
hard. So imagine if you don't make it home the next day because of a car accident, heart attack, whatever it is.
Okay.
And if you can stand outside your body, what is your family doing when they got that call? What are they doing? Are they panicking because they don't know how they're going to pay for everything?
That's right.
Are they trying to figure out how they're going to keep this mortgage in place? Because it was a 2-income household. Now I'm down to 1.
Okay.
That's 2 or 3 jobs I got to take on.
Man.
Now the kids are home by themselves because somebody's got to go to work at night.
Correct.
So start thinking beyond the now.
Okay.
You know, start being more planful
Right.
about things that we know are going to happen. We just don't know when.
Right.
But don't set, the family up for chaos.
I totally understand that now, and I'm looking at it from 2 different perspectives. Let's look at it from, we're in a season of inflation.
Yeah.
We're in a season where people are struggling to put food on the table.
Yeah.
People are struggling to just make ends meet every month.
I
You know,
agree.
I always hear people say, I want a man that takes care of the house like granddaddy, or
Yeah.
a wife that cook like grandmama. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I believe those times are over. It takes 2-person household to do that. But what does that person who's in a box where they know they're on a budget, they're barely making ends meet? I mean, what bridge is there to get them affordable insurance so that they can take care of their family and take care of their loved one, just in case of that emergency?
Absolutely. So I agree. I'm very empathetic to that, by the way.
Absolutely.
Rates are happening, and so insurance rates are very fluid right now.
Right.
But so is gas. So are groceries. Everything is being impacted by the economy.
Correct.
So what I would say to that is, there are options, that are probably more affordable depending on your age and all, different things. But
Okay.
I would think about a term if I were talking to a young family.
Okay.
It's cheap, it's affordable, it's basic. But if God forbid something happens early on of your life while you're raising these kids,
Okay.
this policy that you can put in place for probably less than $50 a month is going to ensure they can stay in that house. But, I would challenge you also to say this. Yes, budgeting is tight.
Right.
But imagine how much tighter it's going to be if one person doesn't make it back tomorrow. So
Come on now.
so in life we're going to make choices and we're going to make some sacrifices.
Okay.
Depending on our priorities.
Right.
But then I would challenge and say, if you're giving me $200 a month for the auto,
Okay.
and you're giving me $1,400 a month for the mortgage,
Okay.
what's $600 a year for the life?
I totally agree.
So if I ask anybody at any given time, what would you say is your number one priority? What are you gonna say? What's your number one priority?
Home.
Your family.
Your family. Yeah, your family. Home. Yeah.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Put your money where. Come on now. I mean, if you got $600 to go on vacation, you got $600 to go on life.
It's a sacrifice.
It's a sacrifice.
You're gonna put the money where you feel it's the most important.
Man, you said it, man, and educating is the number one thing
key.
that we have, and you're passionate about educating.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. That's one thing that I noticed in your presence and your skill set, that you were more passionate about educating people on the value of life insurance than you are selling.
This is not a sales tactic.
Right.
This is life. This is real life.
It got to be some passion behind it.
People, listen. I lost my brother in March.
Right.
And I was passionate about life insurance before that.
Okay.
Thank God he had life insurance.
Right.
But I got a whole different fervor and fire about myself when I'm having this conversation now.
Okay.
How dare I or anybody with a license sit in this seat and not have that conversation? You're not going to get this conversation at Walmart. You're not going to get that question from Burger King. Hey, welcome to Burger King. Do you want life insurance with that shake?
Right.
You're not going to get that.
Right.
So how dare you come into an office where I hold that license and not ask you that question?
Right.
You can get offended. I'm okay with that.
Yes.
But what I'm not okay with, if something happens to you, I didn't ask you.
Man, Sherry DeVouse-Dennard right here on Game Changers Magazine, Game Changers Media Network, Voices of the Village podcast. You guys, we got to go to one more commercial break. Stay tuned. We're going to wrap this story up with Sherry DeVouse-Dennard State Farm Agency, celebrating 5 years
5.
in business. You guys hold up those 5, man. Ease up. Stay tuned.
And equality. Now the world they will see. That's why